My girlfriend of 3 years was living a double life. She said, "You are boring, Cade, predictable, reliable to a fault, but uninspiring as a partner and dull in every way. I needed excitement, variety, passion. Different men offer different things." When I confronted her, those words still haunt me. I am Cade, 29, construction supervisor in Denver. What I am about to share will sound unbelievable, but I have screenshots of everything. 3 years with my girlfriend Brielle felt like the perfect relationship. We had moved in together last year, split everything equally, talked about marriage constantly. I had been working double shifts for 8 months, saving every penny for an engagement ring because I wanted to give her something special. The jewelry store owner, Mrs. William, knew me by name from all my visits checking out different settings. But I started feeling like something was wrong around 6 months ago. Little things at first that I dismissed, because, honestly, who wants to believe the person they love is capable of systematic deception? Her phone became an extension of her body. She would never let it out of her sight, sleeping with it face down, taking it to shower, getting visibly anxious if I was even near it. This was completely different from before when she would leave it lying around everywhere. The late-night buzzing started innocently enough. "Work emergency," she would say, typing frantically at 2 a.m. "Marcus needs these reports ready for morning meetings," referring to her boss at the regional office. But what kind of administrative assistant has genuine emergencies at that hour? When I would ask for details, she would get defensive and accuse me of not trusting her. Then there were the new people in our social circle. Our neighbor Dante started coming by constantly to borrow things like sugar, tools, random household items. Always when I was heading out for work, my girlfriend would encourage these interactions, saying it was important to be friendly with neighbors. She also became incredibly close with River, this theater performer she had met through work connections. He was openly gay, so I figured it was harmless. My girlfriend would spend entire evenings at his place helping with costume designs or watching old musicals. She would come home glowing and energetic in ways I rarely saw anymore. My best friend Jensen, who I had known since we were 12, kept reassuring me whenever I expressed concerns. "Brother, you are overthinking this," he would say during our weekly construction site meetups. "She is solid. Maybe you should focus on planning that proposal instead of looking for problems that do not exist." What I did not realize was that while I was saving for our future, my girlfriend was building an entirely separate life, multiple separate lives. Actually, the signs were there, but I kept explaining them away because the alternative was too devastating to consider. My brother Knox visited last month and pulled me aside after dinner. "Cade, I love you, but something feels off here," he said quietly. "The way she acts around you versus how she acts when you are not looking. Just keep your eyes open, okay?" I should have listened to him. I should have trusted the growing knot in my stomach that appeared every time her phone buzzed after midnight. Instead, I threw myself deeper into work, pulling extra overtime shifts to build that engagement fund faster. The ring I had been eyeing cost $7,800. I was almost there. Just a few more weeks of 60-hour workdays and ramen dinners. Mrs. William had even offered to hold it for me with a small deposit. Little did I know that every dollar I saved brought me closer to discovering a betrayal so systematic and cruel that it would redefine my understanding of human nature. Update. Thanks for the early responses. I am reading every comment. Some of you are asking if I have actually looked at her phone. The answer is no, but that might be about to change. Something happened today that is forcing my hand. Edit 2. For context about our living situation, the apartment lease is solely in my name. I had added her after 6 months of dating because it felt like the right step forward. Now I am wondering if that decision might become important soon. Update 1. The moment that changed everything happened, Tuesday night at 2:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I was staring at the ceiling, wide awake, listening to her phone buzz every few minutes for the 3rd consecutive hour. My girlfriend was in the shower, and her phone was on the nightstand, lighting up like a Christmas tree. Something inside me snapped. The not knowing was eating me alive, and I realized I would rather face terrible truth than live with paralyzing uncertainty. I picked up the phone. What I found was not just cheating. It was systematic, calculated betrayal, orchestrated with military precision. 4 different men, 4 separate ongoing relationships, each carefully compartmentalized and scheduled around my work patterns. Jensen appeared first in her messages, and seeing his name made my hands shake so violently, I almost dropped the phone. My childhood best friend, the person who had been reassuring me about my paranoia, had been having an affair with my girlfriend for months. Their conversation thread was extensive and cruel. Working late again tonight, Jensen had texted 3 days prior. Clueless Cade pulling another double shift. Haha, your place or mine? Mine, she had replied. He will not be back until after 10. Plenty of time to have some real fun. Poor guy is still saving for that ring, Jensen continued. Saw him at the jewelry store again yesterday looking at the same setting, told him he should wait until he is more financially stable. Bought us at least another month. My best friend was actively sabotaging my proposal plans while betraying me behind my back. Marcus, her boss, was next. All those work emergencies were coded language for hotel meetups and after-hours office encounters. He had been paying for hotel rooms while I ate ramen noodles to save money. Messages showed him using company credit cards for their business dinners at expensive restaurants I had never been able to afford. Conference room B tomorrow after hours. One message read, brought wine. Told security it is for inventory counting. Perfect, she had responded. Cade thinks I am working on quarterly reports. He is so trusting it is almost sad. Dante's thread was perhaps the most violating. Our neighbor had been using his proximity and my predictable schedule to coordinate secret meetings in our own apartment. They had mapped out my routine down to 15-minute intervals. Cade leaves for the Morrison job site every Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. sharp, Dante had written. Never back before 5 p.m. on those days. We literally have 10 hours. Bring coffee from that place you like, she had replied. We can have breakfast together after. In his apartment, obviously. The casual mention of using our shared space made me physically sick. River's messages revealed the most elaborate deception. His entire gay persona around me had been carefully constructed theater. Messages showed him strategizing about maintaining his cover while maximizing alone time with my girlfriend. Straight guys never suspect the gay friend, River had texted. It is like having an invisibility cloak. Keep suggesting I help with feminine stuff like decorating and clothes shopping. The more stereotypically gay I act around him, the safer we are. You are brilliant, she had responded. Tonight, I will tell him you need help picking out curtains for your apartment. We will have at least 3 hours. But the group chat was what destroyed me completely. All 4 of them in one conversation, comparing notes about me like I was some kind of science experiment. They shared photos of me leaving for work, discussed my habits, my insecurities, my dreams for our future. Jensen had sent a picture of me at the jewelry store with the caption, still window shopping for his cheating girlfriend. This is gold. The timeline revealed 8 months of systematic deception, 8 months of them coordinating around my schedule, mocking my trust, turning my reliability and devotion into a running joke. While I had been working myself to exhaustion saving for our future, they had been treating me like an unwitting participant in their entertainment. I took screenshots of everything, hours of evidence, hundreds of messages, photo receipts, hotel confirmations. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely operate the phone, but some survival instinct made me document it all. When my girlfriend came out of the shower, I was sitting exactly where she had left me, staring at the ceiling. She kissed my forehead and climbed into bed, immediately reaching for her phone to check messages. Everything okay, baby? She asked, scrolling through notifications. Fine, I managed to whisper. Just thinking about work tomorrow. She smiled and settled into sleep, her phone finally silent for the first time in months. She had no idea that her entire web of deception had just collapsed around her. I did not sleep at all that night. I lay there processing the magnitude of what I had discovered, trying to reconcile the woman sleeping peacefully beside me with the calculating manipulator revealed in those messages. The engagement ring fund sitting in my savings account felt like evidence of my own stupidity now. $8,000 earned through 60-hour weeks, skipped lunches, and driving a 15-year-old truck with a failing transmission. Edit, getting lots of questions about confronting her. I will, but I need to process this first. My whole reality just shifted, and I am trying to figure out how to move forward. Edit 2. Yes, I am getting STD tested. The thought had already occurred to me, and it is terrifying. Edit 3. To everyone suggesting I lawyer up, the apartment lease is mine. So that is one less complication. But I appreciate the advice about protecting myself legally. Update 2 yesterday afternoon. I finally confronted my girlfriend. Nothing could have prepared me for her reaction. I had been planning the conversation for days, rehearsing different approaches with my therapist, Dr. Martinez, who my brother Knox had helped me find. Remember, she had advised during our emergency session, someone capable of this level of deception will likely try to manipulate the situation even when caught. Be prepared for anything except genuine remorse. I waited until she returned from what she claimed was a team-building dinner with Marcus and the department. She walked in around 9 p.m. with that satisfied energy I had become familiar with, but had not recognized for what it was. "We need to talk," I said, sitting at our kitchen table with printed screenshots spread across the surface like evidence in a courtroom. She approached casually, probably expecting another conversation about my paranoia or work stress. But when she saw Jensen's name on the first screenshot, her entire demeanor shifted, not to guilt or shame, but to something that looked almost like relief. "Oh," she said simply, pulling out a chair. "You finally looked." The casualness of her response caught me off guard. I had expected denial, tears, desperate explanations. Instead, she sat down and began examining the evidence with the detached interest of someone reviewing a restaurant menu. "How long have you been planning to show me these?" she asked, scrolling through the screenshots. "I found them Tuesday night," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I had been trying to process how someone could do this to another person. That is when she started laughing. Not nervous laughter or hysterical breakdown laughing, genuine amusement. Like I had told her a particularly clever joke. "Took you long enough to figure it out, Cade," she said, still chuckling. "Honestly, I am impressed you lasted this long being so completely oblivious. Do you have any idea how exhausting it has been coordinating all of this around your schedule?" The cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. This was not someone who had made a mistake or gotten caught up in something beyond their control. This was someone who viewed my trust as a character flaw to be exploited. "Jensen kept betting you would never figure it out," she continued, examining her nails. "But I thought you were at least smart enough to notice eventually. Guess Jensen knows you better than I do." "Why?" was all I could manage to ask. She leaned back in her chair, considering the question like it was a philosophical puzzle rather than a cry from someone whose life she had systematically destroyed. "You are boring, Cade," she said matter-of-factly. "Predictable, reliable to a fault, but uninspiring as a partner and dull in every way. I needed excitement, variety, passion. Different men offer different things. Jensen knows how to be spontaneous. Marcus has money and power. Dante is adventurous and dangerous. River is creative and theatrical. And me," I asked. "You pay half the rent on time every month," she replied, without hesitation. "You are stable, safe, the perfect base camp while I explored what else was out there." The engagement ring fund suddenly felt like the punchline to a joke I had been too stupid to understand. "I have been saving for months to propose to you." "I know," she said, pulling out her phone. "Jensen sends updates every time he sees you at the jewelry store. We have been taking bets on how long you would keep saving before you figured out the truth." She showed me a text she was typing in real time to the group chat. "He finally looked at my phone. Took him 8 months. Paying up on those bets tonight." While I sat there devastated, she was updating her accomplices about our conversation, like it was live entertainment. "I need you to leave," I said quietly. "Actually, I think I will go out tonight," she replied, standing and heading toward our bedroom. "This conversation has been emotionally draining. I need to clear my head." "Do not come back," I called after her. "We will see," she said from the doorway. "You might change your mind once you realize how lonely it gets without me. You do not really have anyone else, Cade. Jensen was your main friend, and he is obviously not available anymore. Your family lives hours away. Where exactly are you planning to go?" She was right about my social isolation, and the realization was almost as devastating as the betrayal itself. She had systematically positioned herself at the center of my social world, making me dependent on relationships that were all compromised. But she was wrong about one thing. Knox had already offered his spare room the moment I called him Tuesday night. "Actually," I said, "I will be gone by the time you get back from wherever you are going. The lease is in my name, so you have 30 days to find somewhere else to live." For the first time in our conversation, her confidence wavered slightly. "You cannot be serious." "I have never been more serious about anything in my life," She finished getting ready in silence, occasionally glancing at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. At the door, she turned back one final time. "You will regret this, Cade. You are throwing away the best relationship you will ever have over some harmless fun. No one else is going to put up with how boring you are." After she left, probably to celebrate with one of her 4 backup plans, I called Knox. He arrived with a U-Haul truck 3 hours later. No questions asked. We packed my entire life in silence, and I have not looked back since. Edit. For everyone asking about Jensen, I sent him one text. "I know everything. Do not contact me again." He responded with, "It was not personal. Brother, these things happen." That was our friendship of 17 years reduced to "these things happen." I blocked his number immediately afterward. Edit 2. STD results came back clean, thank God. Getting retested in 3 months is recommended. Edit 3. Multiple people have asked about pressing charges or taking legal action. My lawyer cousin reviewed everything and said, while morally reprehensible, nothing they did was actually illegal. Sometimes terrible people face no legal consequences for destroying others. Final update. I am writing this final update from my new apartment in Fort Collins, where I relocated for a project manager position that pays 30% more than my old job. It has been 2 months since I discovered the systematic betrayal, and I need to share what happened because the resolution was both devastating and liberating in ways I never expected. The healing process began immediately after moving in with Knox. My brother did not ask questions, did not offer unsolicited advice, just provided a safe space for me to fall apart and rebuild. The first week was rough. I could not eat, could not sleep, kept replaying every interaction from the past 8 months, looking for signs I had missed. Knox's wife Sarah recommended Dr. Martinez, a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma and narcissistic abuse recovery. Those sessions became the foundation of my healing. Dr. Martinez helped me understand that what my ex-girlfriend did was not just cheating, it was systematic emotional abuse designed to erode my self-worth and maintain control. Healthy people do not orchestrate elaborate deceptions involving multiple accomplices, she explained during our 3rd session. This level of manipulation indicates someone with serious personality disorders who views relationships as games to be won, rather than connections to be cherished. The therapy revealed patterns I had never recognized. Her constant criticism disguised as helpful suggestions about my appearance, my social skills, my career ambitions, her isolation tactics that gradually separated me from other relationships while positioning herself as my primary source of validation. The way she would manufacture crises that required my immediate attention, then punish me for being too available and predictable. Meanwhile, I had gone completely no contact with everyone involved. Blocked phone numbers, social media accounts, email addresses, digital scorched earth policy. Dr. Martinez called this protecting your recovery environment, and it was crucial for rebuilding my sense of reality, without constant reminders of the trauma. The new job opportunity came through a former colleague who had relocated to Colorado. When he offered me the project manager position, I did not hesitate. Fresh city, fresh start. Nobody knew my story. I could rebuild my identity without constantly being reminded of my past naivety. But karma was working behind the scenes in ways I never could have orchestrated. Last Thursday evening, I was making dinner in my new apartment when my phone rang. Unknown Colorado number, which was unusual since I had been careful about sharing my new contact information. Something compelled me to answer. "Hello, Cade." The voice was barely recognizable through the tears and congestion. It was my ex-girlfriend. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. But between gasps and sniffles, the story emerged. The 4-person conspiracy that had seemed so entertaining and unbreakable had systematically imploded over the past 6 weeks. Marcus had apparently grown bored with their arrangement and ended things abruptly after a company restructuring brought new oversight to his department. Worse, someone had reported their relationship to HR, triggering an investigation that resulted in his transfer and her termination. She was effectively blacklisted from similar administrative positions in the Denver area. Dante had moved out when his lease expired, providing no forwarding address and blocking her on all platforms. She had shown up at his new apartment complex, only to discover he had given the management company instructions to call security if she appeared on the property. River had returned to his theater crowd the moment their arrangement became inconvenient. When she had tried to maintain contact, He had made it clear that their relationship had been purely physical entertainment. Nothing more. He had even blocked her from attending shows at his theater company. Jensen's situation was perhaps the most devastating for her. His girlfriend had discovered everything through their mutual friends and had aired the entire affair on social media with screenshots and detailed accusations. In the tight-knit Denver construction community, his reputation was completely destroyed. Multiple contractors had terminated their relationships with his company, and he had become a social pariah. His relationship had ended. His business was failing, and he had apparently told her that associating with her would further damage his attempts at rebuilding his professional reputation. So there she was, unemployed, socially isolated, abandoned by all four men who had found her so entertaining when she was someone else's girlfriend, and facing eviction from our former apartment because she could not afford the rent alone. I made the biggest mistake of my life, Cade, she managed between sobs. I threw away the best relationship I ever had for nothing. These guys, they were just using me for entertainment. You were the only one who actually loved me. The manipulation was subtle but unmistakable. She was not apologizing for the betrayal itself, but for the consequences she was facing. She was not sorry for hurting me. She was sorry her fun had ended and she was alone. I have learned my lesson about loyalty and love, she continued. I understand now what I lost. Could we meet somewhere and talk? I know I can make this right if you just give me one chance to explain everything properly. 2 months ago, hearing her voice would have shattered me completely. I might have been tempted to believe her tears were genuine, that her isolation had taught her valuable lessons about love and commitment. But therapy works. Growth is real. I had spent 2 months learning to recognize manipulation tactics, and I could see this phone call for exactly what it was. Another attempt to use me as her safety net now that all her exciting alternatives had disappeared. I hope you find what you are looking for, I said calmly. But it will not be with me. I am not your backup plan anymore. Please, Cade. Just give me 10 minutes to explain. I am hanging up now. Do not call this number again. And I did. She called back immediately. I did not answer. She called 3 more times over the next hour. I blocked the number. That night, I felt something I had not experienced since discovering her betrayal. Complete peace. Not anger. Not vindication. Not even satisfaction at her misfortune. Just quiet certainty that I had made the right choice and was finally free from her influence. The most important thing I learned through this entire experience is that recovery is not about getting revenge or waiting for karma to balance the scales. Recovery is about rebuilding yourself into someone who would never again accept being treated as disposable. I have been dating someone new for the past month, Emma, a project architect I met through work. She is kind, honest, straightforward in her communication, and treats me like someone whose feelings matter. The contrast with my previous relationship is stark and educational. Most importantly, if someone betrays your trust systematically and shows no genuine remorse when confronted, believe them the first time. Do not wait around hoping they will transform into the person you thought they were. That person probably never existed in the first place. The engagement ring fund. I spent it on therapy, moving expenses, professional wardrobe for my new job, and a security deposit on my apartment. Best investment I ever made. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best versions of ourselves. I am grateful for who I have become, even if the journey here was painful. The best revenge really is living well,